Today, we have started Q4, and if everyone is aware of our usual processes, we'll kind of walk through roadmaps. Today, we're going to take a bit of a different approach. We have some features upcoming on October 22nd, which we're going to cover. Dave is here as expert. He is one of our CSMs at Athenian. He manages the private equity kind of clients. I know, Dave, you have over 25 clients, I think, that you manage. You get in the weeds of things a lot. You also bring a lot of insights to the team. So why don't I open the floor to you quickly for just 30 seconds? Give us a little intro. Let us know who you are, what you do, what you enjoy, and then we will get going.
Absolutely. So you guys can call me Dave or David, whichever one works for you. I'm a customer success manager over here located in the great state of Ohio in Cincinnati, more precisely. So go Wrangle, go Bengals, and go Reds. Although Bengals right now I'm not very happy with. My goal here as a customer success manager, like Charlotte mentioned too, is really to remove roadblocks, ensure that you guys are utilizing the system correctly. But I also take feedback, so I'm the voice of the client. So any feedback you bring to me, I then in turn bring it to our product team in Charlotte so then we can enhance our product. So your voice is heard through me. That's essentially my role.
Yeah, and it's a good one, Dave. You have definitely been a champion when it comes to just advocating for your clients and really letting us know as well from the product side what your clients want to see as well as what they don't want to see. We've often had that kind of come through. So we're grateful to have you here. As a quick recap, I'm just going to run through the agenda. Before we get started, as usual, you will get an email. All of these webinars are uploaded to YouTube. So I do want to make sure that everybody knows at the end of this, we will make sure that you have access to the recordings. We are also going to send out that email with an access to our latest survey. We've sent out an entity compliance survey. It gives us a lay of the land in terms of what trends are upcoming, what people are seeing. So keep a lookout for that because it is open to everyone. It's anonymous in terms of filling in, but we really, really want those insights from you and your teams if you have the time. We send it out externally on LinkedIn as well, and we've been getting some really interesting feedback. So look out for that. Please share your questions in the Q&A box. They are always there for you to pop anything in there if it comes to mind. If we're running through features and something comes to mind, please let us know. If you have any questions for Dave, he is here and ready to help. So please keep an eye on that Q&A box. The chat box is closed, but Q&A box is there for you to use. And then we'll send out that survey as we mentioned. So quick agenda for today. We have an update. We have an update on our latest launch, Athenian AI. Very exciting. It was kind of updated under the radar and kept in the ropes for you to hear today. So I'm going to run through that. It's very exciting, and I think it's going to drive a lot of value. We're also going to run through what's coming. So mark your calendars for October 22nd. A lot of the roadmap features on the Q3 roadmap that you would have seen early stages a couple of months ago, you're going to be seeing October 22nd. There are some other features that are also ready. We'll be touching on a couple of those, but we're still determining launch dates just to make sure that it's easy and digestible for you guys. We don't want to bombard you with functionality. We do want to make sure it's easy to kind of get used to and customize to. So that is what we'll be running through. We will then touch on workflows. So just with Dave being here as well, I really wanted his perspective on a lot of these features, hearing from him how clients are using them, and also what workflows they make the most sense for. So if you're going through these things and you have any questions for Dave, he touches base with 40 or more clients on a regular basis. He sees a lot of different use cases for features, for workflows, a lot of struggles, a lot of pain points that you might think are specific to you and your team, but not necessarily. And Dave has those insights. So now is your time if you want to kind of voice that and ask questions. It is available. Q&A is open for you. Please throw those in. And if there's anything we don't get to, we will follow up with you as well. All right, so let's kick off. I am very excited. Athenian AI. You will have known that on October 2nd, we launched Initialize. Now, we had done quite a bit of prep up until Initialize. We had let everybody know the values that it was going to bring. You would have seen the booklets that we sent out, as well as the product tours. We have one-sheeters for the feature as well. So lots of interest was driven. Everyone was very, very excited. And I'll pause there and just say, whenever we do launch our feature, our clients are very faithful in letting us know what is not working, what is working for them. And there was one key theme that we kind of noticed. So I will say as of late last week, I believe Thursday, we have updated the initialize skill. And Dave, you might not know this, you might know this. I think you may have seen it in questions here and there. But initialize now is able to not only create principal records, so adding those directors to entities, etc., but it also it identifies when it surfaces the information from documents, it identifies people and existing records in the application. So if you have Bob as a director, what we were noticing is with initialize in its first iteration, it would create another Bob if Bob was in the document. But now it's going to pick up that Bob actually exists. Would you like to connect and link this new role under his name to the existing profile? So completely eliminating data duplicates, massive, massive upgrade in terms of value. And Dave, I'll pause there. I'm curious. So you have been doing a lot of work with AI, with Initialize, with Centralize. Your clients, again, being private equity kind of focused, they work with a lot of transactions. Walk me through the value you're seeing with Initialize. Walk me through the excitement of this. What are you hearing? What are they saying? What are they giving you feedback on? I would love to know.
Absolutely. So thanks, Charlotte, first and foremost. Overall, the feedback really has been positive, right? We're seeing a huge reduction in the manual data entry here, of course, which is the primary reason that AI is developed is to save time. Saving time is saving money, saving headaches, and so forth. With initialized here, of course, too, I always suggest using initialize for any of your high workflows because those involve a lot of the most documents, right? And now with the latest update that we have, to where we're checking against those dupes with principals and entities and so forth, especially in the creation type process, we're immediately seeing time and efficiency savings right out the gate. That's kind of the only overwhelming feedback that we're receiving here currently, based off of that. So really good things in the pipe, really good things with Initialize, and just overall, we're seeing just a mass reduction in time savings for especially the manual data entry.
That's amazing. And that was the purpose of Athenian AI Initialize as well when we started all of this. It's great to hear it with the whole kind of storyline behind it. There's a lot of ChatGPT models, as we have mentioned. I know we won't harp on with this, but it's good to see that impact actually taken and being used. And Jen, you are here, which is wonderful. Thank you for making it. Jen, if everyone I'm sure a lot of people on this call know Jen, but she's a senior industry consultant with delivery and the delivery team. So she works with the clients pre-launch. Dave gets them afterwards. She works with them beforehand. Jen, you work with a lot of very large, complex clients, I know. And so I'm curious as well from your perspective, kind of chiming in with what Dave has said. What are you seeing with Initialize and with Centralize? How are people using Athenian AI? It's a completely different kind of aspect of where they're at in their journey with Athenian. So I'm curious, how is that all playing out? And is there anything you're seeing that Dave has not mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, for the most part in implementation, we're obviously very concentrated on things like migration and we can get your data in, which is great. But what about 6 months down the line and things like centralize, initialize will really help kind of speed up that process. So it's not something where Athenian put in the original 300 entities. Now I can go in and quickly do it, which I think is really valuable for just like future use and maintenance of the tool.
That's amazing. So Dave, you're seeing it for more time savings and workflows. Jen, you're seeing it for more mass updates. So there's a lot of potential here. And with the update to the principal linking and the records, I know that was quite a big piece of feedback that we had gotten. Has anyone implemented it already? I know it was kind of live on Thursday, but any interest there, anything that comes to mind in terms of how it's going to help create principles and drive value there? Dave, I don't know if you have anything to touch on with that piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And the big proponent of AI absolutely is the entity creation process, but something that we should always consider here too is the maintenance component, right? Um, think of some of the people that we've started with migration a year, 2 years ago, right? A lot's changed in a year and 2 years' time. And a lot of the PE clients I work with, they're small but mighty teams, right? So time efficiency is huge. You have individuals that are literally wearing 4 or 5 different hats, right? They have 4 or 5 different roles. So the maintenance component of AI really is incredible. So they don't have to spend that time in updating information. So that's a little piece there that I definitely want to add on to that. It's yes, it's time savings, but in all reality, it's also keeping you compliant as well too,
Yeah.
especially with CTA type filings here now, which is a whole nother topic. With those CTA filings, there's a time limit before you have to actually put in your beneficial owners. And through our AI and updating information, that makes that whole process in general compliant and time saving as well.
Yeah, that's very true. Good mention on that too, Dave, because I agree with you in the piece on the many hats. Before we had launched AI, I know a couple of case studies that we've gotten from clients and value adds. People were saying that just adopting Athenian in and of itself, without the AI piece, they were already saving upwards of an hour a week just on regular tasks. So our goal as a company and as a team is to take that further. We still want the user to be in control of data. We still want you to own your work and what you're doing, but we want you to not worry about that manual side of preparing information for a request or adding information because of a request. It's that really difficult piece outside of fulfilling the transaction where it just takes you so long that doesn't need to be there anymore. So it's good to hear. I'm excited. And absolutely on the findings piece as well. The UBO piece is something that I haven't even thought of. If you were wanting to update your ultimate beneficial owners in terms of who sits as director or who has some kind of ownership on the entity, you could potentially use this workflow. So that's a great call out. Perfect. Thank you. We're excited. If anyone is interested in learning about this, we have all the resources. Please reach out to your CSM and we can get in touch as well. But I will move on. So that is what's launched. And now jumping into what's coming, we are very excited. Again, beginning of Q4. I'm actually going to stop before I touch on any of this and pop up a poll and just let everybody know that we have finalized our roadmap. I know there's been a lot of conversations back and forth with the CSMs. Jen has brought it up as well. What's on the roadmap? What are we launching? What is coming? And we work pretty agile. So as we're developing features, things come up that provide a lot more value that we're like, yes, let's implement that. There are also things that surface where it's like, actually, there's a need here. Let's plan that for the next roadmap. So as we were working on items for Q3, a lot has surfaced, and we have the Q4 roadmap ready. So next week, CSMs are going to be having conversations with their clients. I want to know from everybody here in terms of what you're seeing, what you're discussing with your CSM, if you can put it in the Q&A. Who is interested in seeing the Q4 roadmap? Does anyone want to be reached out to specifically? Please type, say yes, we would like to be reached out to. We want to know what's coming. We're not going to be launching or putting the roadmap up on this webinar just because it is posted on YouTube as well. We want to keep something secret in terms of what we're building, but it is very exciting. So I'm curious who wants to be reached out to, who would like to have insights into what is coming. If you do, we will reach out to you and we will make sure that your CSM has that conversation. We can also send out the content to you that you can take to your organization. So I'll give everyone a couple of seconds. I will just let the Q&A kind of roll in there, put your answers in there. And then while we're at that, I will start prepping for moving forward on what's coming. All right. Interesting. Lots of people saying, yes, I would like to receive a roadmap. Thanks. Brilliant. Brilliant. Okay, great. And if you do specifically want to be reached out to, we can reach out this week. Otherwise, if you have a call booked with your CSM already, technically you're doing quarterly business reviews at this point in time. I know, Dave, you have a couple set as well. We have another CSM, Kelsey. She's been reaching out to me too. I know she has some set. They will be brought up in these QBRs. So we are on it and we will show you. Again, if you have any questions with what those features consist of, you'll be seeing that in the rolling roadmaps as they come. Perfect. Great. Excellent. Thank you. Good. We'll reach out to all of those that have asked for it. All right. So what's coming? Now, as a reminder, again, Q3, we had our roadmap that we launched, and there were some features that we had said we were building now, next, and later. Some of those features are ready to go. So they're sitting in the swim lane. They're ready to be launched. We just need to set those dates. Others have already been set. So the first thing that you will notice that is coming, and I know all of our French clients are going to be very happy for this. Some of them have already been reached out to individually. So keep in mind that this date, it says 22nd. I know that there is one or two of you that will be getting it a little earlier. So keep that in mind. But French translations, the what behind this is full front-end French support. So the language in terms of Athenian, what it looks like, how it's translated, everything Athenian based. So no user inputs, but the app itself will be completely translated in French. This has been, I'm not joking, a massive project. I know, Jen, you've been involved in it, Dave, you as well. We have had a hands-on team translating this to make sure it is accurate and up to date. There are so many data points in Athenian, as you know, and so it has been a beast of a project, but we are very proud of our team. So this is coming. Jen, I'll go to you because I know you've been kind of in and out with the French translations. What do you think? How is this going to help teams? I know you have a lot of French companies that are onboarding. Talk about the value that this is going to bring to them and their teams.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've been really excited about this one for a very long time. I know it's taken a massive overhaul of the translation. So overall, I think the biggest impact is that teams in Quebec or any French speakers can really have all different levels, stakeholders, read-only users, can really use the app and interact with it in their own home language, which is very valuable, obviously, with doesn't cause any kind of language translation issues or anything if they're not necessarily English first speakers. So overall, I think that's going to be good. It's also going to be good for keeping compliance specifically in Quebec, as you have on your slide here, so that everyone can provide this French-speaking version of Athenian.
Yeah, absolutely. We know that Quebec had that Bill 96 passed, and a lot of clients were on it. And we see some people in the chat as well saying our team in France is very excited about this. I agree. It is very needed. Canada has a big French-speaking part of who uses the entity management tools that Athenian provides. And I think this is necessary. I think on that note as well, Jen, if we just think about the team collaboration, it is so unfortunate and it does a company so much disservice if everything is in English, but they have a French office sitting somewhere and they really want to use Athenian, they really want to use the functionality, they want to be able to translate things, put information into that central source of truth, but they can't because it's not in French. And so this opens that door. It completely eliminates any of the kind of roadblocks or bottlenecks that they were seeing before. And I think it's going to drive a lot of collaboration. So I'm very, very, very excited for this. If you have any questions about which plan this is available on, it is available on all plans. It is included. It is not an additional cost to anybody. It will be rolled out on the 22nd to everyone. And also in terms of resources and materials and that kind of thing, you will be seeing that next week. So keep an eye out. Your CSM will reach out to you and your team a week before. I will be providing them with a lot of the content needed for enablement, and you will get a good overview of what to expect in that launch. All right, moving on, structure charts. We're very excited about this as well. Jen, I know you have been heavily involved in this. Dave, you as well, with your private equity clients too. Also for our regular corporations and the amount of ultimate beneficial ownership demands that are being kind of put and strained on these teams. It's becoming very, very difficult to give an accurate representation of ownership quickly and efficiently without needing to scramble across documents, verify things with documents. And Athenian is, we have done a great job. The product manager behind this, his name is Haisem. He is French, and he has done a fantastic job with him and the engineering team kind of putting their heads down and working on improving this. So what you can expect to see on the 22nd in the professional and enterprise plans, this is not available for essentials. If you want this, you can have a discussion with your CSM and we can kind of figure out exactly what the next best steps are for you. But we are looking at multi-hide edit visibility. So hitting a shift button and multiple selection of entities and hiding that, kind of similar to the edit visibility mode. Upward connection branches. We've also got a very neat feature that I think a lot of the larger clients will be very happy for, is hiding the connection arrow between entity links and completely hiding the child relationship. So clicking on something and saying, yes, I know this is part of the ownership structure. It is not valid for the request I'm fulfilling. It doesn't need to be shown in the transaction that we're working on, and we are hiding it. So Jen and Dave, when I mentioned this to them when we were preparing for the webinar, they were very excited because they immediately thought of a couple of clients that could benefit from this. So I'll hand it over to you. Dave, let's start with you. What are you thinking in terms of the value you see here? What do you think it's going to do to the way people are building and using transactions? Walk me through it.
Absolutely. In all reality, this really is a game changer, especially for my client base. My client base has a lot of large and complex entity structures, just plain and simple. So being able to really control that data and making it work in a dynamic way, that is priceless. It really is. because a lot of my clients too, it's great to be able to see these charts, follow along, but they report to boards. So they need to export this data. They need to be able to manipulate into a data to where they can present it into a way that's functional, right? And these updates that we have coming actually October 22nd, oh, can't come soon enough to be completely honest, but these updates coming October 22nd really are going to be game changing for my clients from there. And even thinking they report to board members and so forth, but it's also for internal teams that utilize it as well too, right? Being able to read, follow along your entity structure, your corporate structures, your organization structures. Those are all vital workflow pieces. And I do feel like my client base is going to be super happy about these. And actually, I can't wait to present these, to be completely honest.
That's amazing. Yeah, you'll be doing all the training and the adoption, which is great. And we can't wait. We'll do product tours. We'll hand it over. But I'm excited to hear the feedback from that piece too. Jen, what do you think as well? I know you work with, there is one client in specific, and I won't mention their names, but we love them. They have been a phenomenal part of building this. And I know you know, tried and true, how much of an impact this is going to have for them. So walk me through that and walk me through what you're thinking.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, a lot of these more complex structures tend to come in with many entities. So you expand the structure chart, there's way too much information. You don't always need that when you're sharing to anyone. Like, and so the ability to kind of hide things massively, like bulk hide, which is huge, especially when you have that many entities to kind of go through and make that perfect chart when you have to create a report. But then it's also things like the upward connections, the downward connections. This could be really relevant for KYC purposes and different transaction types and different transactions that you may be working on, and different teams across an organization can leverage kind of just making sure just the right amount of information is quickly visible so that they can go ahead and share without having to share an entire structure chart of hundreds of entities.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. It's the pain of what it would take you to get that. I know some clients, they spend thousands of dollars like giving this externally to external counsel to build because they just don't have the time, so they'd rather just commit to paying the fees. And the budget of that is not, it doesn't help. You can't scale that. So being able to do this in app, I know a lot of our clients have said that they're actually giving external counsel access to charts to do it themselves, and then they build out that way. So it's huge. And I will throw in a small spoiler alert. The polls are not working, and it's very unfortunate because I really wanted to put the polls up, but a very small spoiler alert for one of the items on our Q4 roadmap is shapes. So, and Jen, I can see you smiling already. This has come in, I cannot even tell you for how long. And we've known it's something that's been requested. And it's a little harder to build than people would think, but implementing the ability to see an entity in the shape that it needs to be in, instead of having that shape at the bottom right-hand corner, is going to be something that we're working on. So again, reach out to your CSMs. They will be able to touch on that a little bit more. And also, likewise, there's no poll up, but I'm curious, who would this be helpful for that's on the call right now when it comes to shapes? There is a comment in here, and I do see it, Jana. I will reply. I'm going to dig into that a little bit for you. With regards to the ownership, I know we're doing a lot of improvements outside of what we're currently releasing. So we'll touch base with you as well. But who would the shapes be impacting, and are you excited for this as well? Just type a little yes, very excited, not really. I'd love to hear. And if you are very excited, we can keep you posted on those updates as we go. All right, next, securities and governance, new look. So as you will remember, I think it was about 2 or 3 months ago, we did the update to people and dashboards, the UI update. We changed the way things look. We are continuing on that train because we want to make the app. There's one person that has said very, very excited. Excellent. We'll reach out to you and keep you in the loop. But we're following the trend of keeping the app consistent in terms of what it looks like, how it functions, how it feels, how it operates, clean, fresh, crisp. The UI we've received very positive feedback for. And so what you'll see on the 22nd of October is a new look for securities, governance, and classes. Now, I will say that the changes will follow the same pattern that we followed previously, where it will be toggled on and off. We're going to default the toggle to on in this release, and you can toggle it off if you need to operate in the old UI as you get used to things, as it changes, as it adapts. This is a very heavily used piece of the application. We are aware of that. We take that into consideration when we make this. So we'll be releasing communications on how long you'll be able to toggle on and off for, and all of that in the next week, and also where those changes will be seen. But you're going to be seeing this throughout the application as the months roll through, as we update the overall look and feel of the app so it's consistent across the board. I've tested it. I know, Jen, you've tested it. I think, Dave, you may have seen it as well. It is very, very nice. It is crisp. It is clean. Our design team has done an excellent job. So look out for that, and we will be updating you ahead of time. All right, let's take a pause. It was a lot that we covered, and Dave and Jen, you're going to be the stars of this kind of portion, but we've touched on some workflows in terms of how all of these updates can help. But I'm really curious, you're in the day-to-day of things, you're in the details of things, you manage the accounts, you talk to the people, you talk to the different users, the roles, executive level individuals, user level individuals. What do you see when it comes to the proven success that these are going to have in workflows, and how are clients making use of these? Are there any scenarios that are different that no one may have thought of? I'm actually going to say to everyone that's on the call, I'm going to keep an eye on the Q&A. If there is a workflow that you struggle with while we have Dave and Jen on the call, please put that in the Q&A and say, is there an easier way we could do this? Or we find X painful. Is there something we can do differently? Let us know. They work with a lot of different types of clients. And so very often there are things that people struggle with that you might think is unique to you. That's not really that unique, that someone else has already solved. So put that in the Q&A, and I can kind of answer as we go. But I'll open the floor. Jen, what are you seeing? What would you recommend top of mind with all the features we've mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, as you may have noticed, I'm really excited about the structure charts. So I think in line with all of these new updates to the structure charts, it's just going to cause so much flexibility. And I always say, like, if you just need to get an idea of things, or if you're looking for KYC requests and you just need to ultimate beneficial owner information, whatever it is, like, just pop in the structure chart and just kind of play around with it, play with the filters, play with the hiding, editing visibility, as well as the upward downward connections. And I think it's a really good way just to tie in your data and your structure, for you to kind of really get a big picture as well as smaller pictures if that's what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And I agree with what you do in your work in your day-to-day. That has been one of the heaviest pieces that you've noticed. I'm curious as well, like, let's say you get a know your client request from a bank, or you're building out an ownership chart. Do you find clients often still are building charts and then leaving the system? We have one person that's actually asked, Rose, I want to acknowledge your question. She would like the ability to, for example, print directly from the structure chart rather than export to PDF, etc. Are you finding that people are remaining in Athenian when they're using the charts? Do they go outside of Athenian and edit the charts? Where do you think that's going to go? And is this something that you notice, or not really?
I mean, I think it depends on what your ultimate goal is. I do think a lot of people play around with it in Athenian so that they can visualize it much better and much easier. I think if you do need to extract, it's great that you can extract into so many different tools so that you can leverage those additional customizations externally that may not be possible, like the shapes, which I'm also really excited for. So if that is coming, that might even decrease the amount that needs to be done externally.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. And I'm also thinking from that perspective, that person asking the question, Rose, like, your process might be a little bit paper-based in terms of the other people that you work with as well. From that perspective, I'm thinking that you're exporting it or you're printing it, but then maybe you're doing something else with it after that. So what does that extended workflow look like? And why would that be needed as well? Is it maybe a question of, could we get the team into Athenian? Do they have to be paper-based? Or do they have, or could we give them access, maybe limited access, maybe, behind a permission or something, and then you just trust that they generate that? I'm thinking of it from a different perspective to make your life easier. It's a very interesting question. So I appreciate it. I have two other questions around charts, which I'll touch on. One is, would it be possible to include the partners of not managed companies so that they appear on the chart so that the whole flow is complete. And that's very interesting because we have non-equity and non-ownership views in our charts, which is something that I know a lot of the other systems and tools do not have. So managers, partners, trustees. But with this unmanaged partners piece, Jen, are you seeing that at all in terms of requests? Has that come up before, or is this something that's kind of first in terms of what we're hearing?
I mean, if it's a not managed entity, if it's something where you do really value adding that, you can always just flip it over to a full entity. That is always an option to add more color to your entities. But yes, I do think, like you said, other types of non-equity ownership is a big thing, especially when sometimes you don't really need the limited partners, for example, but you need a general partners of a limited partnership to come into the structure chart. All of those different types of kind of connections are really valuable depending on your ultimate goal.
That's interesting. Actually, I love that because I have not thought of that workaround. It is a workaround, and it could help suffice in the meantime where it's, instead of keeping that entity as unmanaged, flip it maybe to closed, and keep a tab on it, and then see that in the chart, and then go back and flip it back. And that will give you that view, by kind of manipulating the information. But it is a very good question and a good call out. And it might be something that our product team could reach out to you for and kind of dig into a little bit more to see, okay, what would the best case scenario be here? Do you want to change your source data? Do you just want to change the output of the information? How can we keep this accurate, and not manual, but also give you the outcome you're looking for? And how often do you do this? So these are great questions. Thank you. There are quite a couple in here as well. I want to move to Dave. Dave, you're sitting there,
Wyatt.
waiting to answer as well. What are you
Jen,
seeing? Yeah, what are you seeing?
yeah.
Walk me through
So
it.
Jen took the approach for structured charts. I'm going to bring it back towards AI here, right? What for me, especially with workflows, it's about taking advantage of that and any of those repetitive workflows, right? Things that are continuously over and over again, right? And I think our AI Initialize can be a vital component of those repetitive workflows, to be completely honest. The more you can automate, right? And I'm sure you guys have heard this as well too. The more you can automate, the more time your team can actually spend on other features, right? On strategy and growth, rather than worrying about or being bogged down on the manual kind of task process behind it, right? So for me, utilizing AI for those repetitive workflows, I actually think that's a big proponent here. Like that's what I'm kind of honed in on.
Yeah, I love that. And I think that that's key because it doesn't need to be as manual. It is repetitive. It's something that you don't need to worry about in terms of the accuracy of things because you're still controlling it, but you're taking all of that manual work away, which is huge. I'm curious, Dave, is there like one or two very, very manual workflows that come up in client business reviews that people keep asking? There are a couple of comments in here that I just want to acknowledge as well about share classes and exchanges and stuff. I have seen that. I'm gonna get to them. If we don't get to them, I will answer them as well. But Dave, in
Yep.
terms of the manual side of things, is there one or two that you can call out that you think could be
Yeah,
improved?
let's talk about compliance, right? Compliance is a big deal for a lot of organizations, not just private equity, right? But global ops and so forth. The compliance component is a kind of a manual process, right? So you have to update information into the system, and then once the information is updated, you're also setting yourself reminders, task flows, and so forth for filing type purposes and etc. Utilizing our AI automates a lot of that process, right? Because it'll actually do the update for you that you're the manual data entry that you're dealing with, and it makes it so much easier to where you can actually set a compliance workflow, right? And our compliance workflows, those can be automated. You can set reoccurring reminders yearly to file certain things, and so forth. And I think that's a big time save, to be completely honest, for everyone. It is that compliance component for it.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that where we're at now in terms of that workflow is, if you centralize, you upload the document, it makes note of it, puts that summary description in it, it drives down all the time that would take, and then it puts that on that doc as a note. Or with initializes, you bring that in and it surfaces the information, you build the principles, you have the dates and all of that in there too. But as you'll know, and as the teams know on the call as well, that we are actively working on improving this. And something that you'll see when you have conversations with your CSM on the roadmap is what information can we continue to pull and build on with the AI tool that would be helpful to you and your team. So things like shareholders, maybe things that are difficult and take a lot of time to put in that shouldn't be. So keep that feedback coming, because the place that this workflow can get to, there are really no limits in terms of how much we can help. And there is a special shout out as well to the next phase of Athenian AI, which it's towards the end of the roadmap for Q4, but it's our third feature or skill, which is going to be Athenian AI requests. And that's huge. A lot of our competitors, again, and other entity management systems that you see have started there, but you cannot have accurate request answers if your data is out of date. So we've started from the beginning, we're going all the way to the end to make sure that what you're getting is a full picture. So just adding on to what you're saying, Dave, there really is no limit in terms of what we're looking at doing. And we're very excited for driving that automation. So I'm excited for that, and I think more good is to come. All of the roadmap conversations are going to be wonderful, I think, and we're excited to follow up with everyone. There are a couple of questions in here as well, just around time, around processing share exchanges and conversions. I'll acknowledge one of them as well. When will Athenian be able to process share exchanges and conversions from one class into 2 or more classes? This is a very common workflow with our service providers. It has come up. Currently, we have to enter separate transactions. And yes, we are aware of this. It is something that we have been looking at for a while. The security section is quite robust in terms of its build and how it functions. And then we also look at the need of the workflow at the same time. So acknowledging this, acknowledging that it is something that has come up a few times, but it isn't on our roadmap for Q4. So keep that feedback coming. And we can also touch base with the teams too to dig into it. I send all the feedback to our product team, and then they can kind of plan things out as they're building the roadmap for Q5. I know they're already starting that, and they started pretty early on in the year. So keep that feedback coming, and we'll keep surfacing the information for them. All right, I'll skip through that. Perfect. So more on Athenian, just mentioning that the next release, which is our bi-weekly kind of updates, our bug fixes, all of that. If you know, we always update in the Help Center. That will be live and available Thursday night, this coming Thursday, the 10th of October. So keep an eye out for that. If you are looking for anything to be fixed, if there is a bug that you and your team are currently experiencing, those are the updates where you'll see that in. If it's just specific to you, often our support team will reach out to you individually, and you'll get that directly to your inbox, which is really nice. Future webinars, a key mention here, we're kind of wrapping up the year. Our final webinar for 2024 will be on November 12th. It is a Tuesday. It is right after Remembrance Day, I believe. So just keep that in mind. We will be mindful of who can and cannot join, and kind of keep an eye on schedules as well. But it will be there. We will be running through how things are going for the quarter. We'll be looking at features, what is coming, what is launched. By that time, you would have had a lot of conversations with your CSMs in terms of the quarterly business reviews and what's on our roadmap. So I'm sure there'll be a lot of questions. And we'll also be walking through some actual product demos. So it has been feedback, and feedback has been given to us that we'd like to see the products live. We are going to be incorporating that in the upcoming one. So keep an eye out for that. We do a little in-app pop-up that gives you an example of what you'll be seeing, and we also send out emails. Then Q&A. If there is anything I have not touched on or not covered, I know there were a few questions in here that I'll touch on. Jana, you also asked about the share exchange. I will follow up with you on that one. Is there anything else that you are curious about? I will actually pause here maybe and also give you a little bit of, I'll give you 4 features. 4 will be good. I'll give you 4 features that are coming on the Q4 roadmap that we will start working on. First one is custom fields for people. So making a key mention of that. I know that is a very, very big ask, custom fields for people. I was going to put this in a poll, but it's not working. So custom fields for people. The second one is AI requests. So Athenian requests in terms of coming into the system. It could be anyone, it could be any role. Where is this information? I need an answer to this question. That kind of level of functionality. The next is charts, the shapes that we are implementing and working on as well. And then I believe that there are some other kind of fine tweaks and UI updates and that kind of thing that's coming. But out of those 3, what would you be most excited for? What would make the most impact to you and your team? And would you like to be kept in the loop as well? In these questions, maybe in discovery as we build things out. Is there anything that stands out to you of those three? Custom fields in people records, being able to add custom information to those individuals. We have the Athenian AI requests, and then we have also got the charts shapes. Which of those three would make the most sense for you and your team? I'd be curious. Put in the Q&A, and we can follow up with more details for you as well. I'll give some time. Got a lot of excitement around AI requests. Awesome.
I could tell you which one I would pick.
Which one would you pick, Dave?
All three.
All three? And that's just three. That's just three. I was building things out last night, and I think there are like more than 12, I believe. I might be speaking out of line. But there are a few updates, and they are all fantastic updates. I'm very excited for them. Custom fields for people. I agree, Alexi. 100% agree. This has been asked for a while. We have the custom fields in entities, but there is such a need for custom fields in people, being able to add those kind of key pieces of data on people records that you need to report on. And as a little reminder, we can bring custom fields into charts. So I'd be curious if our product team builds that out. We have people structure charts. I'd be curious if that would even be a need, if you would want to surface information in charts for people as well, if you're building the chart from that perspective. Yeah. Oh, there's one interesting question. For now, it doesn't seem possible to add a link to our internal SharePoint in the system. Do you plan to get this functionality in the future? Jen, Dave, have you heard of this request before?
I mean, I think with people using some sort of document management on top of Athenian for like documents that aren't quite ready for the minute book or things like that, it could be something interesting to link together. I think ultimately I see a lot more people moving from SharePoint into Athenian once Athenian is live, but it could be an interesting use case. Would be interesting to know more.
It is interesting. Yeah, it's like Drive. I'd also be curious like about the security side of that too, and
Right.
what that, yeah, whoever, I know that was an anonymous attendee, but please submit that feedback through and also speak to your CSM. Dave, have you ever had that come up?
In a way, yes. Now, main reason why people purchase Athenian is an essential source of truth, right? That's bread and butter. We want Athenian to be that source of truth. So we get that feedback. Okay, we have data that's in other systems elsewhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
SharePoint being one of those. So in lieu of them trying to get that data into Athenian, the easiest way, and this is just the way they're thinking, is why don't we kind of link the two systems there together so they can kind of push and pull. That could be available via API, right, as well too. So these are some things that you can kind of think of, but it is great thinking to have one centralized source of truth, and that's why you're hearing connections. And I've heard it with SharePoint, I've heard it with other type systems as well. But just something kind of think of from their perspective, right? Data
Yeah.
everywhere, put it into one. And I think our API is actually a good tool to kind of combine all of that.
I think that's a great call out. Yeah, that's an excellent call out. And depending on the use case and what they're trying to achieve, there might be some options for you if that information is document based. Our API connects. We're actually one of the only APIs in the entity industry on the market that can do bidirectional push and pull, so giving and getting information and in document form. So that would be interesting to run into. That's a great call out. I really like that view, Dave. And for whoever asked that question, please elaborate with our team, and maybe we can kind of help find a solution for that as well. And we have one question that's come through again. Would it be possible to have the ability to run a task which includes more than one registration? For example, if you had two business names that you renewed, to have the ability to pick more than one business name registration to populate in your reporting letter when using a task. That's very interesting, actually. And again, that's a workflow where you're doing a lot of compliance at once and you need as much as you can in one kind of workflow. That is a great call out. I will send that through to the product team. Thank you, Sherry, for that. I'll make sure that we kind of push that through. I would also love if you could submit that too or speak to your CSM. I'd love to understand the color around that, how often you do that, how many registrations it could impact or be taken up to, all of that, the full picture. And it really helps us kind of understand the pain behind it, the problem you're trying to solve, why this is something you thought of right now to mention, why it's something that's come up as a question. It means it impacts you in your day. So we'd love to add the color on that for the product team as well. It would be very valuable. Yeah, thank you for that.
Curious on how often that comes up. That's a great one.
It is a great one. I agree. I agree. All right. Perfect. I'll wrap this up. We have 5 minutes left. Again, I just want to apologize for the beginning of this. Thank you for everyone's patience. Zoom was not working with us. The registration link was completely all over the place, but we will make sure that this recording is put on YouTube for you and your teams to share. If anyone has signed up and left midway or couldn't attend, we will be reaching out to those individuals as well. And then just a small call out that state of entity management report, I mentioned it at the beginning. We'll be sending this out in the email. Please, if you have time, fill it out. It's an anonymous survey. It's not specific to our product. It's just insights for us into the industry, into what you're seeing, what's evident to you in the landscape, what are changing, what is changing, what is not changing. So purely just for us to know, and it actually helps you and your teams as well, because I believe we push through the report of that at the end of it, which is really helpful. As always, you'll be getting an email, like I said, with a link. The recording will be available, and then we've got a survey just asking how this all went, what would like changed. We've had feedback for product demos in the past. We've had feedback for more people like Jen and Dave joining, which is more relevant to the people that are attending the webinars. So we take that seriously, and we do implement the changes when you do ask for that feedback. All right. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate your time. I appreciate the Q&As. We'll keep in touch. If there was anything I didn't answer, we will reach out. So please keep an eye out on your inbox. And as always, we look forward to seeing you again on November 12th for the next one and the final one of 2024. All right. Thanks, Jen,
Bye,
Dave.
everyone.
You guys were great. Appreciate it.
Thank you for
Thank you.
having me.